It's been 3 years since I've started this garden, and this is how it looks right now. But in today's video, what I want to talk about is winter wheat. I did a video a year ago about spring wheat, and I mentioned in the video that I want to compare spring wheat to winter wheat. I seeded winter wheat in the middle of November, and it took longer to sprout than spring wheat because of the colder temperature. It grew real slow over winter months, and this is how it looked in March. So that is 4 months of growing, and for the spring wheat, I already harvested 4 months after planting. In April, with warmer temperatures, the wheat really started growing, but then closer to the middle of April, we had snow that covered all of that wheat. A month later, after that late snow in May, the wheat recovered and it had grown quite a bit. The weather is getting warmer, and May is the month in our area where the activity is definitely picking up. To get some honey from those flowers, in 2023 I actually got myself some bees, and I'll share some videos on this channel. If you're interested, be sure to subscribe. Later in May, the heads on the wheat started to show up. And if you compare this to the spring wheat, which I planted in May, you can see how much more ahead winter wheat is. In June, the heads continued growing, and we also got a small addition to our farm. And finally, in July, the wheat was ready to be harvested. So here we are out on our wheat field at our garden. I'm gonna use this hedge trimmer to cut this wheat down. So we'll see what we can do. This is my winter wheat crop, and a lot of it actually fell down because we had some rain, some late rain. And this is the spring crop, still standing, so looks good. And the rest of the garden, I'm gonna try out using the head trimmer. Using a head trimmer to cut down wheat is much faster. The downside is that it's harder to create sheaves from it. But since I had a lot of wheat to cut and a lot of it already fell down, I decided to use the head trimmer to cut it all down, and then I just collected all of it in a pile. On the property I had this wood chipper, and it should definitely speed up the threshing of the wheat. Of course, some of the wheat berries will be cracked because it is hit by knives, but as you can see right here, the wood chipper has enough airflow to actually separate most of the debris from the grain, which definitely made the threshing of the wheat much faster. After I threshed all the wheat, then I had to put it through the mash because there's still some chunks of the stems in it, and if I tried to winnow it with it, it would have been more difficult. All I had left is to winnow it, and I used a leaf blower for that because I didn't have constant wind that day. And after winnowing, I ended up with almost 2 5-gallon buckets of wheat, and a full 5-gallon bucket of grain weighs about 32 pounds. Now, the process that I took this wheat through is definitely less efficient than the process that I did on spring wheat, and I actually did all spring wheat by hand, but it took me less time to process all the winter wheat compared to the spring wheat, even though I planted 6 times more wheat for winter than I planted spring wheat. To conclude this spring and winter wheat experience that I had, it is pretty easy to grow wheat, but if you don't have something to harvest that wheat, it's definitely not worth the time unless you're doing it just for experience. The plot where I had the wheat growing, I tilled it and plant some alfalfa so that I can get some alfalfa hay for the goats, and also the bees can collect some nectar from the flowers. I'll continue making some videos with updates on my farm. Be sure to subscribe, leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.